very intricate workings to hide a very significant treasure. That could be it. We find something that's dateable down there. Even better, what you got? We found Rick Lagina and his team dive deep into the garden shaft, armed with the latest tools, full of excitement for the newest discovery that promises to change everything. They're using cameras and casings, hoping to find an ancient tunnel hidden underground. Over at Lot 5, things are moving slowly, but Jack Begley and El Mean discover red pottery and charcoal, hinting at old stories. Could these discoveries reshape our understanding of Oak Island? Join us as the team switches to a bigger drill bit, ready to reveal the island's hidden answers that will change the course of time. Digging deep at Oak Island in the latest adventure at Oak Island, Rick Lagina and his brother are once again diving into their search for treasure, teaming up with folks from Duma Contracting Company to dig around the garden shaft. It seems like they're more into the thrill of the search than actually finding treasure. They're using some pretty high-tech gear, like sewer cameras and casings to look deep into the ground, hoping to find a tunnel that might even be older than the shaft they're currently exploring. This adds an exciting twist, making us wonder if they're on the path to discovering real historical treasures or just spinning their wheels. Over on Lot 5, Jack Begley and Lon are finding bits of red pottery and charcoal, which really makes you think about who might have been here ages ago. But even with these cool finds, they're feeling a bit stuck because things aren't moving as fast as they'd like. They decide it's time to ramp up their efforts, which leads them to uncover more intriguing stuff like a mix of clay and wooden fragments. Things take a big turn when they find a small piece of wood. It's too tiny to date using carbon methods, but it gets tied into big ideas about Europeans who might have come to North America way before Columbus. They base this on a lead token and an old cross from France from the 1300s, which could mean we need to rethink some of our history books, even though the proof is pretty thin. Then there's Gary Drayton, who's an ace with a metal detector. He picks up signals of metals like gold, silver, and copper deep down in the shaft. This part of the episode is set up to be a huge deal, but kind of fizzles out without any major discoveries. With the digging season winding down and the team needing better tools, they decide to switch to a bigger drill bit, hoping it'll help them get past whatever's blocking the shaft. The digging continues, and the team starts imagining they might find a tunnel loaded with metal that leads to some hidden vault. This exciting idea pushes them to keep drilling and searching. The deeper they go, the more stuff they find, like over 1,000 lead tokens and several old coins that date back to the same time as that lead cross they found earlier. But instead of clearing up their questions about the island, these new finds just make everything more confusing. Back in their war room, where they go over all their discoveries, they talk about coming back next season to keep looking. Dr. Spooner thinks there could be some interesting materials near the garden shaft, but so far, no treasure. The episode ends with plans for more digging, leaving any potential treasure still hidden, and the whole story still hanging. The team decides to go deeper into the garden shaft, convinced there's a hidden tunnel below. Every time they try, though, it seems like they need to dig just a bit more. Their determination is impressive, but they're not really hitting the jackpot. At the same time, they start poking around other parts of the island, like an ancient well on Lot 26 that they think was built in the 11th century. This old well brings a bit of history to their quest. The team thinks maybe someone hid something really valuable there a long time ago. It's a fun thought, but it feels more like a fairy tale than real life. As more time goes by, they keep focusing on Lot 26. They talk a lot about the progress they're making, not because they found anything big, but because they hope they will. The well is interesting because it's so old, but they haven't found any treasure there yet. The Lagina brothers, who are leading the team, are really committed to the search, but you have to wonder if they're more excited about the search itself than finding any actual treasure. When they finally get past some obstacles in the garden shaft with a bigger drill bit, all they find is some old wood. That's pretty disappointing after all the buildup. The team shifts their focus to Lot 5, wondering if their guess about hidden treasures is right, or if they're just following false leads. They decide to put more effort into searching Lot 5, right next to the garden shaft, thinking it might be full of gold and silver. This idea is more of a hunch than anything based on solid evidence. Gary, one of the team members, believes that if they just keep searching all the different areas and lots on the island, they'll eventually strike it rich. This hope comes from other things they've found before, but those often turned out to be pretty ordinary. The treasure hunt on Oak Island combines real historical interest with what feels like a dreamy quest for riches. The team keeps digging, driven by both the history of the island and their wild imaginations. Whether they'll find something significant or just add more tales to the island's legend is still up in the air. As people watch their efforts, Some doubt they'll find anything substantial, but there's still a small glimmer of hope that maybe, this time, they'll strike gold. Rick and Marty Lagina's story, two brothers hooked on the legendary treasure of Oak Island, could be likened to a childhood adventure tale that they've never really left behind. Sparked by an article Rick stumbled upon in Reader's Digest as a youngster, their young minds were captured by tales of buried riches, dangerous traps, and hidden tunnels. Decades later, Rick still talks about their digs at the infamous Money Pit with a sense of wonder, though it's possible he's more enamored with the hunt than the actual treasure. Growing up in Michigan, Rick was the dreamer, always the older brother with his head in the clouds. His fascination with treasure began when he discovered an unusual rock in his hometown, thinking it might conceal something valuable. He managed to convince Marty and some friends to dig around it. They didn't find anything, of course, but the thrill of the hunt had taken hold. That initial excitement has only grown into an intense treasure hunt with every new discovery they make as adults. Their fascination has deepened, leading them to spend countless hours and a fortune trying to unearth the hidden things of Oak Island. Their adventures, fueled by legends of immense wealth, have often ended in disappointment. The unfinished story in Rick's cherished Reader's Digest may not have been an error, but rather a symbol of their never-ending quest, a cycle of excitement and letdowns with no real end in sight. Despite numerous disappointments and critics who dismiss their efforts as chasing after nothing, the Lagina brothers press on. They seem captivated by the island's history as much as by the possibility of finding hidden treasure. Their adventures, which are broadcast on television, might look to some like an expensive hobby rather than a serious exploration. Each season, they find a few more items, usually small and not directly connected to any treasure, that somehow keep their hopes alive. These small discoveries are celebrated as crucial clues, keeping the narrative exciting for viewers and perhaps convincing the brothers to continue their search. Some might argue that Oak Island's real treasure isn't something tangible, but the stories that have sprung up around its legend. For the Laginas, perhaps the true value lies in the chase itself, in their lifelong role as treasure hunters, continually drawn to the promise of the next big discovery. Yet as they dig up more earth and find little more than rocks and dirt, one has to wonder if this quest for treasure is just an expensive venture fueled by captivating tales and the persistent question of what might be. This relentless pursuit, wrapped in the romantic notion of uncovering long-lost historical riches and striking it rich, captivates not just the brothers, but also those who watch their quest unfold on TV. The cycle of excitement and disappointment not only defines their treasure hunts, but also seems to be a central theme in their lives. Now, as each digging season ends, they plan for the next, driven by the eternal hope that maybe, just maybe, the next dig will be the one that finally uncovers Oak Island's hidden treasures. In the meantime, the excitement of discovery and the joy of the search keep them and their audience engaged, forever chasing a conclusion that may never arrive. Finding traces of gold brings new excitement, encouraging the team to dig deeper into both the ground and the island's history. New incredible findings at Oak Island, despite consistently encountering only mud and muck, haven't dampened the persistent treasure hunters' enthusiasm. On the contrary, their excitement for the treasure hunt seems to grow with each passing day. This increase in enthusiasm might be because they feel closer than ever to finding the long-sought-after treasure. For those actively digging, and those watching from home, it seems they might finally be on the brink of a significant breakthrough. This renewed excitement stems from recent activities by Duma Contracting Company at the Garden Shaft when it was revealed that traces of gold were found in wood samples from an older shaft. It sparked a mix of skepticism and excitement among the team and viewers alike. As they dug deeper, Marty, always the cautious planner, suggested bringing in more equipment to expand their testing capabilities. Armed with new clues, the team set out on a fresh expedition. Meanwhile, Rick, Tom Nolan, and other team members gathered in the war room to plot their next moves. They were guided by a plan developed by Tom's late father, Fred Nolan, back in the 1970s. Fred had discovered a well filled with pottery near the swamp on his property. Initially, when the team explored the well, they found nothing but pottery and decided to refill it. However, the recent discovery that this well dates back to 1028 reignited their interest. Could this ancient well hint at a bigger story, or was it just another dead end? The story gets a bit more complicated with the finding of a four-sided shapeback in the 90s near Nan's Cross. During a dig, they found a bunch of big rocks. Tom thinks his dad put those rocks there on purpose to help with digging later by breaking up the thick soil that naturally covers the area. While this idea makes sense, it doesn't really help clear up the ongoing uncertainty that seems to always hang over the island. This info comes from a book by Fred Nolan, who used to take care of the island. The stories in the book go back and forth between intriguing hints and frustrating dead ends. As the current group digs more into both the ground and the long history of the island, you have to wonder if they're actually getting to the bottom of a true story or just digging themselves deeper into a well-made legend. The treasure of Oak Island still seems as far out of reach as ever, with every new discovery leading to more questions about the legend rather than answering any. But despite this, or maybe because of it, the hunt for treasure is still very exciting. It keeps pulling in new people, not just because they might find treasure, but because they get to be part of a famous tale that has intrigued many for years. Tom spoke with affection about his father's attempt to write a book about his work on the island, which never got published. He felt the world wasn't quite ready for what could have been a hit. If it had been published, the book would have given a detailed glimpse into his father's many years of effort there, but Tom seemed to think that the timing just wasn't right for such a story to come out. Rick listened to Tom talk about his dad's unpublished book, but he was more interested in the actual historical traces left on the island. He was especially interested in the different wells around the island, particularly one near Fred Nolan's property that was still open. This piqued Rick and his team's curiosity, leading them to decide to check out this well more closely, along with another area called the Quadrilateral, hoping to find something big. Looking back at Fred Nolan's time on the island, you could see his search for gold as pretty old school since he didn't use metal detectors. Some might see this as being stubbornly traditional or sadly inefficient, depending on who you ask. Nolan's approach could be viewed as either a charming commitment to the old ways or a missed opportunity because he didn't want to use modern tech. While they continue to search for treasure, the team is also uncovering more of the island's past. Each find adds to the story they're piecing together. The Lagina brothers' latest unknown plans, Rick's plans for exploration, were about digging in two ways, actually digging into the ground and symbolically digging into the island's history. By exploring these places, they hope to find not just physical objects but also deeper insights into what happened historically on the island. This exploration was as much about uncovering stories and understanding the people from the past as it was about finding real treasures. With the latest tools, they're diving deeper into the island's history, eager to see what it might reveal. The digging became an exploration into the past, uncovering both the ambitions and possible mistakes of those who had tried to either unearth or bury the island's hidden stories. This ongoing exploration held the promise of revealing not only what was hidden beneath the island's surface, but also the deeper truths behind the stories told by people like Tom, who consider their ancestors' unrecognized efforts as overlooked masterpieces. It was still uncertain whether these digs would prove Tom's high opinion of his father's work or simply add more layers to the island's complex history. Regardless, this phase was shaping up to be a revealing episode in the ongoing narrative of the island, blending the quest for gold with a fascination for Oak Island's mysterious past. Despite the weather damage, the samples from the wood already told an important story. They indicated that the history of human activity on the island went way back much further than we initially believed. Throughout the treasure-hunting history of the island, people have occasionally found old pathways or roads. At first, you might think these were just trails left by more recent searchers or settlers, but it usually turns out that there's more to these paths. This particular road they found in 2006 ran for hundreds of yards, navigating through varied landscapes. It skirted around small ponds, cut through wooded areas, and even crossed a critical watershed area between the upland and Smith's Cove. Toward the northern end of this road, they discovered something else intriguing, a rock-lined pit or maybe even a tunnel. And that's not all. The whole situation opens up a lot of questions we don't yet fully understand. All the details about this road, like exactly when it was built and who might have built it, are still up in the air, waiting to be answered by future discoveries in the area. This ancient road, buried under the island, is like a silent witness to events and people we haven't yet figured out, pushing us to keep exploring and piecing together the island's hidden past. This road was first spotted during a search for the original pit on the island. Initially, the end of the road appeared to be just a typical bare stretch. However, a closer look revealed it was a rock and dirt path, a kind of makeshift road often found in rural settings. The top layer was composed of rocks embedded in dirt and covered with peat, which masked its appearance, making it seem less worn and untouched by human activity. There were no clear imprints or marks that indicated who might have laid down the road, or when it was built. This scenario was common in various parts of a road where it became challenging to trace exactly how the road was constructed. The discovery of coconut fiber within the structure of a road was particularly surprising. It's not something you'd expect to find in this context, and initially, it was quite shocking to the finders. The presence of such materials hinted at more complex construction than first assumed, suggesting that there was a planned effort to build a durable road, perhaps for transporting materials or as part of a larger operation. Finding an old road on Oak Island suggests people were active there much earlier than we thought, opening up new possibilities for exploration. Discovering the ancient road on Oak Island, Marty and Rick Lagina, along with their exploration team, were investigating an island located off the southeast coast of Nova Scotia, Canada. They stumbled upon this road early in June 1996 while clearing land on the southeastern end of the island. What seemed initially like a flat piece of land turned out to be an elevated rock formation paved with flat stones laid closely together. This discovery prompted a series of discussions among the team about how to verify the presence of a stone road and understand its extent and purpose. Despite conducting a geophysical survey, the results were inconclusive. However, the idea of a stone road persisted, especially after geophysicist Mike Hunt, in a separate survey, identified a packed and rolled stone surface almost 3 feet below the modern surface of the land in an area far from any known old buildings or previously cleared land. This led to a brief investigation in the area, though not much came from it, and interest eventually faded. Over the years, there were moments of renewed interest, especially when further clues emerged. The initial discovery faded from the spotlight until it was re-examined by researchers using new methods. They began rechecking old maps and past documents, looking for any overlooked clues or contradictions.